right, guys, welcome back to Truth and Transparency. This episode, Holly Bobo. Yes, back in the news, but we're going to take us back to the beginning. And this is the second installment of mainstream media 2011 to 2017. And the reason I have it from 2011 to 2017 is because Holly Bobo was abducted, allegedly, they say on the state's case, is on Wednesday morning at, I don't know, 8, between 7:30 and 8, they say. So I'm taking us back to start from the beginning and just kind of feel like this is how it flowed. So here we are, we're back at it. I got some raw press conferences from back then from the police.
Us now is Dr. Lawrence Kobylinski, a crime scene analyst and professor at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice here in New York. Good morning.
Good morning.
And this whole story has had some conflicting reports already coming out of it. Last night, they found a lunchbox believed to be Holly's. What might that evidence lead them to?
Well, I think that's important because now we have a vector that is a directionality. She was abducted from the home. They find the lunchbox. They know that either the suspect or the suspect and the victim were headed in a direction. So now they can focus their search around that box, that area.
We originally were told that her brother told police that she was pulled from the home, dragged into the woods by a man in camouflage. But now it sounds more like she was forced into the woods, forced to walk by her own. Is that change in story an indicator of anything to police?
Well, at first, when I heard that, I thought that was the red flags went up.
Okay, so check this out. They're talking about the story. Well, we know that this is how the story was. It was Karen Bobo that called the police and gave her account at 7:59 a.m. And she says that it was because when she was at work, she's a school teacher. She's an elementary school teacher. And when she got to work, she got there late that day. She has a cell phone. And she claims that she was talking to Holly that morning. And she claims that she was talking to Holly's boyfriend that morning. And she claims that she was talking to her mom that morning. And what she claims is that Holly had called her. She didn't get to click over fast enough. And then she calls Holly back. And it's about her boyfriend, Drew, got into it with a cousin, Bo Brasher, about not being able to hunt on that property that morning, or, you know, it was like a big problem. Like, who gave you permission to hunt on this property? The property was Holly Bobo's grandmother's property, which is honestly really close to the elementary school that Karen worked at, Scotts Hill Elementary School. And so there's these text messages, and now Holly calls her mother to say this is what happened. And then Holly's mother's phone shows that Karen calls her mom. Okay. And they have like a 4-minute conversation. Or she's leaving a message. And then after that, Holly's mom calls Drew Scott, who's Holly's boyfriend. And the phone records indicate that there was less than a 2-minute call. So it was like 1 minute and 30 seconds. That could also be, you could have left a voicemail. And then after that, Holly's mom said that she called her daughter back, and it was on that phone call. This is what she told authorities, is that, when I had talked to Holly that time, Holly was telling me how she couldn't get through to Drew, and she was calling him and she couldn't get through. And Karen's like, well, it's because, honey, I just called him, and that's probably why you couldn't get through. And then Holly would be abducted literally within minutes after that phone call. Because Holly's phone's last text message out was at 7:42. And the only problem is with that whole story is it has to be in chronological order. And did it happen that way? But they're basically saying that Holly was perfectly fine until 7:42 because she's making a text message at 7:42. And she's actually on the call. Like, her phone, they're saying Holly's phone's being used. And hey, this has to be Holly, right? Because it's her phone. So they're saying that, yep, at 7:42, she sends out a last text message, and then she walks out to get in her car, and then boom, she meets this camouflage man. And this camouflage man, dressed in all camouflage, he abducted her and decided to take everything. He was waiting in the carport for her, and he decided to basically assault her with something that caused her to bleed. There's blood there right next to the car. And then not just, hey, I'm not just going to take Holly. Holly's walking off on her own, according to her brother. She's walking off on her own, basically hand in hand, stride for stride with the abductor. But then they take all of like her belongings, you know, her lunch pail, her book bag, her purse. Yeah, seems pretty normal. Well,
Just if you're an eyewitness, you're the last person to see the victim.
Holly's mom, when she called 911 at 7:59, the Decatur County Sheriff's Department already said that they already had people like dispatch, like be already sent that way. That they had already gone out there. Like, we already had people on their way. 7:59, nobody had called. Nobody had called before 7:59. Or did somebody? We'll get into all of this. But at 7:59, that's the first phone call. Then Clint calls. And that's at 8:10. Like 8:09, 8:08, 8:09 to 8:10. And here, his phone call, though, he masked his phone, but it went to the Henderson County Sheriff's Department, not Decatur County. So it had to be transferred. Here, Karen's over here talking about how her phone call did that. No, it didn't. So red flag right there. Karen only made one phone call, and it was at 7:59. Dispatch switches over at 8. So I think somebody knew that. That's my opinion. If you make a call at 7:59, it's going to go to the dispatcher that basically leaves the building, you know, at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you're in transition of a shuffle. Then Clint calls, and he's claiming that Holly is missing. He doesn't say that Holly was abducted. He doesn't say that. He's saying that my sister is missing. Why would he say that if he thought that she went with Drew into the woods? Holly is missing is completely different.
Now
and law enforcement catches on that. Law enforcement mentions that to Drew in an interview 3 years later in 2013, or 2 years, I should say, brings it up and says, basically, the TBI, FBI, nobody believes you. You can't pass a polygraph to save your life. And this timeline doesn't make any sense. And yet, so here I am asking, how did you get off of this trail of like, yeah, nothing makes sense. You guys are all seeing this. You guys are writing it in reports. How did we get on the path that we got? Well, let's find out.
Changes from dragging to walking. It raises some questions, but
Holly's mom said that her daughter was drugged. Clint never said that. He's never spoken those words once.
On the other hand, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it could have been an internet rumor. I just don't know. I think the TBI, the state police, are now saying she walked out with the perpetrator.
Okay, so this is what I thought was so interesting to me, is that they think that there's all these rumors out there. Listen to how he's portraying this. He's basically saying that it was once said that basically one person gave this account, and that it went from being drugged into the woods to now it's, oh, no, she was on foot walking into the woods. But where did this come from? Because it matters. Why would Karen Bobo say that her daughter was drugged off into the woods when she wasn't? If it's true that Clint saw what he saw, and if it's true that this all happened when they say that it happened, versus that this isn't a complete cover-up for when it really, really did happen. You cannot get this many mistakes, okay? This many inconsistencies. Karen was not there, or was she? Why would Karen think that her daughter was drug off into the woods? Nobody said that. In fact, her son told Karen, is Holly supposed to be at school? Because her car is here, and I think she's like, I don't know, with Drew. Drew's here. And then Karen's like, what? Drew is hunting. He's turkey hunting on her mother's property. So she's like, that's not Drew. Get a gun and go shoot him. What? And here's Clint's like, wait, you want me to shoot Drew? This is their version of what's happening.
As Betty just reported, Holly's father.
Let's listen to this again.
And joining us now is Dr. Lawrence Kobylinski, a crime scene analyst and professor at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice here in New York. Good morning.
Good morning.
And this whole story has had some conflicting reports already coming out of it. Last night, they found a lunchbox believed to be Holly's. What might that evidence lead them to?
Well, I think that's important because now we have a vector that is a directionality. She was abducted from the home. They find the lunchbox. They know that either the suspect or the suspect and the victim were headed in a direction. So now they can focus their search around that box, that area.
We originally were told that her brother told police that she was pulled from the home, dragged into the woods by a man in camouflage.
Like, how could Karen Bobo let her son get destroyed in the media? Absolutely destroyed in the media. She knows that she was the one that told authorities at 7:59 that she was drugged. Why wouldn't you come out and clear that up? Why would you let your son get destroyed in the media? I have a question. That's, as a mom, I'm not letting my son get destroyed ever for anything. I'm a mama bear.
But now it sounds more like she was forced into the woods, forced to walk by her own. Is that change in story an indicator of anything to police?
Well, at first, when I heard that, I absolutely, I thought that was the red flags went up. If you're an eyewitness, you're the last person to see the victim, and now your story changes from dragging to walking. It raises some questions. But on the other hand, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it could have been an internet rumor. I just don't know. I think the TBI, the state police, are now saying she walked out with the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm. As Betty just reported.
So then I have a question for the state police. Why wouldn't you ask Karen Bobo? Why didn't you ever interview her? Why didn't you ever sit her down in an interview, get her phone, download her phone, go through it, and ask her why she called the cops at 7:59, and why did she tell the cops that X, Y, and Z? It was in the reports. The 911 logs have Karen Bobo as a caller at 7:59, and that a guy in camouflage drug her daughter into the woods, in quotes. The police never thought that maybe they should ask her why she thought that. If Clint Bobo is repeatedly telling you that that's not what I ever said.
Holly's father seems to think this could be someone close to her, someone who knows her routine. What are the chances of that?
Well, I think that that's rather high because clearly whoever did this waited until the father had left the house, as well as the mother. So it's quite possible that
Well, if her mom saw somebody being drugged into the woods, maybe her mom didn't leave yet. Who knows where her mom's at? Because it sounds like she's an eyewitness. She saw her daughter getting drugged off into the woods, it sounds like.
he knew this. Whoever did this knew that she would come out of the house on her way to school at a certain time. He was waiting for her.
So is it safe to say then that police are likely looking at family members as suspects?
Well, I think police are looking at everybody. They're looking at schoolmates. They're looking at friends. They're actually they're doing everything they can to generate information because there's so little known about this abduction.
Who should they be interviewing right now?
Well, not so much who as what. I think they need to look at her cell phone, her computer to see who she communicated with. I think they need to find out from her friends if there was anything unusual that happened in recent time, threats or something of that sort. I think the investigation is wide open. And the most important thing right now is a thorough search.
And speaking of that, sir,
A thorough search for, like, because you're looking for her, but it's a crime scene, okay, right? Like, she's missing, but there's blood there. It's a crime scene because she was taken. It's not like somebody that's, when you say missing, like, it's like there's somebody that's saying that they witnessed this, okay?
they are focusing it on a 4-mile wide area about 6 miles from where Holly went missing. What does that tell you? 4-mile wide area about 6 miles.
Okay, so listen to this.
Investigation is wide open. And the most important thing right now is a thorough search.
And speaking of that search, they are focusing it on a 4-mile wide area about 6 miles from where Holly went missing. What does that tell you?
Well, I think they believe that they're on foot. They're not in a vehicle driving to another state. And the likelihood is high.
Okay. So think about this. None of these people could pick up on the fact that you just said cell phones, right? Back then, like pinging and stuff. So they focused on an area that was 4 to 6 miles away from her home. Okay. Yet, do you guys know how far Terry Britt lived from her? 11 miles. But yet they were focused on this area that was only 4 to 6 miles. But yet they already did the pinging of her cell phone, and they knew that day. And then what they got on the stand and said is that they didn't know how to do. We had these coordinates, but we didn't send anybody like going and like following the pings or doing anything like that. What then drew you, if you didn't even know about how to basically map the pings and use Google, if you didn't know how to do that, then how did you find this lunch pail that was off of Gooch Road?
That's the area that they will find them in. I must say that because so much time has elapsed, the longer that time interval lasts, the less likely they will have a successful return of Holly.
And when you say successful return of Holly?
I mean, I'm hoping that they find her alive, but as time goes on, that's less and less likely.
Dr. Lawrence Koblinski,
So let me ask you guys a question. I think it's pretty self-evident to me, but if there's so many red flags with the way that this all supposedly went down, like the brother story, it's just like out there like crazy, right? Then you have to start asking yourself, well, is this truly the story? When would you start asking yourselves that? If you're an investigator, okay, this kid's lying to you, right? Everybody thinks that TBI thought it, FBI, everybody. This kid's lying. He can't pass a polygraph to save his life. His story keeps changing, okay, with or without the mother's, problems. When do you ever say to yourself, okay, let's retrace Holly's steps? Okay. When would you ever start saying, okay, we need who's saying that they've seen Holly or with Holly and doing things with Holly outside of the family? Wouldn't you, when would you start, when would that start kicking in?
Appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to stop there now. Next one. Yeah. Clint is the brother, and he failed 2 polygraphs, maybe even a third one. But the question is what were they doing? Like if you think that people are lying to you, trace back Holly's steps. And so that's what they had on April 30th. April 30th. She goes missing on the 13th. April 30th. They have Karen and Clint Bobo right out from April 7th until April 13th. Like, what was Holly doing, or what did you see? Like, what can you remember from April 7th all the way to the 13th? Okay. And I'm like, they didn't do this until April 30th? April 30th? Like, that's wild. Don't you think? Okay. Okay. So then this gets put out now, mind you, I'm just picking different things and I'm going in the order that, so this is from, let's see. Well, this was uploaded on in 2016, but so technically I think this is actually after the thing I'm going to show next. Yeah, let me go here.
The urgent search for a young woman gone missing. The Tennessee Sheriff's Association has added $5,000 to the reward fund for Holly Bobo, the 20-year-old nursing student who reportedly was abducted from her home a week ago today. It brings the reward total to $80,000. Investigators say the abductor is likely a local figure. No suspect yet, though. The small town of Parsons, meanwhile, is hoping, praying that any minute now, Holly will be found safe. Here's Lindsay Davis.
Okay, so before we get to that, TBI, that is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. They came right in on this, as well as the FBI, like immediately. Okay. And since this is a week later, this is what they did in the first week. They interviewed and got permission. And I was wondering why this was so important. What's a big thing in Tennessee? Okay, this is your land. There's everybody owns. We can't just go on people's land and just start searching. Like, we need to have permission. Okay, and we're going to get into a big thing that happened in Tennessee with one of Clint Bobo's. I don't know if you want to call him a buddy, but his name is Hunter Hollingsworth. And the night before, or I guess you say 2 nights, 3, the weekend before the Wednesday that she was abducted, Hunter Hollingsworth text messages Clint and says, "Hey, bring your crew, and we're going to go 4-wheeling at the Natchez Trace." It's a place that they go 4-wheeling, not a lot, but, and so this text message goes out, okay, and they're going to go 4-wheeling and potentially hunting at 8 p.m. Okay. Anyways, so I think it kind of like be important, maybe like find out, talk to people that would be like 4-wheeling with them, like over the weekend, like what did they do? Maybe the boyfriend. So they say that they talked to the boyfriend on the 13th, but who knows, because nothing has surfaced with that. They talked to a squatter that lived in Henderson County at a campsite. They got permission from people around the area to be on their land. Then they processed the Bobo's house. And they supposedly, like, if you're going to process the house, you would have taken pictures. Well, where are any of these pictures from what the Bobo's house looked like inside? Was there a struggle in there? Was any of Holly's things in there that potentially made its way out to the, to be found? Where are any of those photos? None of that surfaced in the during the trial. Clint Bobo was supposedly polygraphed. You would never do this. Why would you ever polygraph somebody on the night? Like, they said they polygraphed him on the 13th. Okay. If their paperwork is accurate, he failed miserably. They didn't interview the mom or the dad. There's no interview of the mom or the dad. They interviewed the neighbor, Cassie Bates, who lived with James Barnes, and Kathy Wise. Those people all got interviewed on the 13th. They got interviewed then, down the road as well. But they began, like I said, they were at the scene there. Let's see, who else? They interviewed Holly's cousin, Natalie Bobo. They interviewed Lee, who was one of Holly's ex-boyfriends on the 13th. They got area store video surveillance camera on the 13th. Where is this area store video surveillance that was obtained by one of the lead investigators? Okay, that'd be, if you're going to get some surveillance, because what they were looking for is a car leaving the area. There's only so many ways you can go out of there. There's not that many roads. So where is that? Has anybody ever gone through that to see what vehicles were like, heading out? Yeah, so within that first week, I mean, people that you would just be like, huh? Who are these people? Who are these people? Who are these people? Let's see. They were after this kid named Jonathan Dodd, hardcore. Blake Barnett, they interviewed him, which was another ex-boyfriend of Holly's. They interviewed the mother and father of Cassie Bates to see if the son was truly dropped off. James Barnes and her had that kid that was in the car, and they dropped, him off. They interviewed her. They then also interviewed Keith White, who was where James Barnes was building that deck. They took various timesheets from Mackenzie's Tree Service, which is where Holly Bobo's dad worked, but yet they didn't interview him. They interviewed Tiffany Bluffington, Corey Stewart, Ron Darcy, J.C. Bruce, Trent Blankenship, Donald Darrington, John Graves, Timmy Wood. And they did a little bit of stuff with the cell phones to go for like towers. Remember, it wasn't her cell phone wasn't there. So that's pretty much what they did the first week. Those are the names.
What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and divide.
None of those names, by the way, are anything to do with Holly. Holly's classmates, Holly's teachers. Who was Holly texting with besides Natalie Bobo? Drew. What about Drew's alibi? Drew's alibi is his dad. What time did Drew's dad get to work? Did Drew really go hunting on the grandmother's property? Did they talk to the grandmother? Did they talk to the grandfather? Did they talk to Bo Brasher? Did they talk to anybody from the elementary school? Did they go and get any of the 911 stuff? Where's the 911 call? Calls, plural. Like, when you're looking at the evidence intake for your chain of custody, when they were deciding to write up reports, it reminded me a lot of like the Idaho 4 case. Why are reports being written up 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 months later? Like, what are you doing? What's going on here? They had so many agencies looking for her, 31 agencies, all these different counties in the area, the sheriff's departments of all these counties, police, fire rescue. Like I said, it was an absolute, there was just no organization. No organization.
Up into groups.
Time is of.
What we're going
Listen to this.
to do, we're going to go ahead and divide up into groups.
Time is of the essence. Every hour that passes is crucial. Any tip could be the key.
Y'all go ahead and spread out.
They set up roadblocks, but it wasn't for the purpose of like set up roadblocks right now to like prevent people from being able to leave, and let's pull people over. Like, if you're trying to get up out of the area, they didn't do it that way. That's not how, like, they were too late in doing it that way. The reason that this would be so significant is if Clint's telling you that he just witnessed something. This person is on foot or in a car with Holly, right? And so you'd want to put roadblocks up immediately. Like they need to go up immediately, right? And then you'll be checking the cars. Well, all of these people drive ATVs. That's all they do. They drive four-wheelers to each other's houses. We're going to get into all of this.
That's why authorities are turning to the public in the disappearance of Holly Bobo, a beautiful 20-year-old nursing student who hasn't been seen in a week. Just before 8 o'clock last.
Okay, so take a look at the way this door is situated. This is the front door. See how like the front door does not have glass windows on it at all? See how the glass is on the side? If you're going to look out. This is really significant when Jennifer Nichols, the prosecutor, is asking questions of Clint Bobo. When you're looking out the door, right? What? There's glass windows on the side of those doors. And where does that look out? That doesn't look out towards the backyard at all. In fact, you're not going to be able to see anything. You're just going to be able to peek out to see if anybody's right here in this immediate area of your driveway. Okay? So the layout of this property really matters. If investigators were truly trying to figure out if anything that was being talked about was accurate. Did it make any sense?
It's Wednesday morning. Holly's 25-year-old brother, Clint, told...
That's her boyfriend, though. When they say this, that's her boyfriend. So when they say Holly's 25-year-old brother, and then they show this picture right here, that's Drew. That's the boyfriend. So I had to stop and say that.
Police, he watched from inside the family home as a man in camouflage led Holly into the woods. At first, Clint thought she was going off with a friend, but when he went out...
No, not her friend, her boyfriend. But that's how it was being reported, that she was going off into the woods with her friend. He thought her boyfriend. Now, in 2013, when investigators were truly trying to I think that they were understanding the grasp of things that not only does Clint's story not make any sense, but we're able to see that we think that there's a lot of lying going on. Okay. And they start asking him questions that have to do with other things leading up into the abduction, such as, why did you call Drew the night before the abduction? Oh, he wanted me to pick him up some shell, basically some ammo. But when I was in Jackson, I was supposed to be picking up ammo, but when I called him, he didn't answer. So I didn't end up getting him any shells. Well, do you understand that that's a direct contradiction of what the evidence was sitting right in front of the investigators? Drew and Clint had text messages back and forth. Okay, there was phone calls, but there was text messages about the picking up the ammo. And when he told investigators that I didn't know if he needed 4s or 6s, that's an absolute lie, because they texted over it. And Drew says 6s in the text message. So what do you mean? Well, when I called him, because I didn't know if he needed 4s or 6s, and when I called him, he didn't answer, so I just didn't get any. So we're talking about the night before this abduction. We're talking about you picking up bullets, right? Ammo.
Outside, he found blood in the driveway and immediately called 911. The police went into high gear, searching for the man in camouflage.
We feel that she knew that she was in fear of her life, so she was complying with his command.
The family begged for help.
Holly, I love you so much. Please try to get home to us. And if anybody knows anything about her, please help us find her.
The close-knit community rallied. Hundreds volunteered to comb the woods for clues.
That's the last phone call you ever expect to get. And it's a close family, so we're just trying to hold it together.
Until now, the town of Parsons' main claim to fame was country music singer Whitney Duncan. She's Holly Bobo's cousin. She thinks of her as a little sister.
She's beautiful, kind of shy, quiet, girl until you get to know her. And then she's just funny and sweet, and she's amazing.
Damon Bobo, the brother of Dana Bobo, was a drug runner in Tennessee. He was either killed at his home in Parsons, Tennessee, or in Shelby County. Damon's body was found by Dana and Karen Bobo at a funeral home in Memphis, Tennessee, but they never found out who put the body in the funeral home. At the time Damon was killed, Karen was pregnant with Holly. I said, what the fuck? I looked that up. Yep. The Bobo family believe that he was killed. The police are saying that no, he committed suicide. I said, wait, what about what he was? He was a drug runner? This is called victimology. So Holly Bobo's uncle, who basically when she was being born, like he was killed or he killed himself. And the town was like, he was a drug runner through Tennessee. I'm like, oh my God. That's in numerous investigative reports.
And Whitney's also had to defend Holly's brother Clint. Bloggers and tweeters immediately began to question his story, and tweets like this one appeared. I think the authorities should focus more on Holly Bobo's brother Clint. Very strange, contradicting story. Whitney Duncan fired back with a tweet of her own, writing, my cousin Clint, Holly's brother, is not a suspect, and I'm sick of people saying.
Okay, well, that is just absolutely, at the time, was not true. And let's see, at the time of, so this is a week, they said it's been a week. TBI and FBI sat down Clint on numerous occasions and flat out told him that he's lying and that we don't believe you and that you are basically giving the killer a get out of jail free card one day. They also said to him, we don't believe that you are the person that abducted her. So why are you lying? And I'm over here like, why do you believe this story? The story is the lie, right? So Holly maybe didn't die or this didn't happen that way. What he's presenting in the polygraph questions were like very, very specific to like, did you make up the story of Holly being, walking off into the woods with the camouflage man? Did you make up that story? Deception detected, and it was spiking. So if that's not the story, right? That's the lie. That's the lie you're catching him in. Then what truly went down? That's what it would tell me. You guys, the questions that we're asking him that he's bombing is the situation.
Saying that he is. He's been cleared for good reason. Shut up.
That's what she wrote within 7 days. When all Holly's mom had to do was say, I'm the one that said that she was drug off. I called the police and he called the police. This is what I said to the police. This is what Clint said to the police. Why wouldn't they say something like that? Well, because then everybody would wonder, wait, why would Karen, who's not there, tell people that her daughter was drugged into the woods with a man in camo? When her son is telling her she's with Drew. He never once told her these things.
Investigators say they're not following any individual suspect, but have not ruled anyone out. In the meantime, the days are ticking by.
This is where our virtual command center is. It's a way to organize the information that's coming in to us and a way to disperse that information out to investigators.
So right here, tips are coming in,
right,
and she's just verifying that everything's been followed up on.
Right.
They've received more than 250 tips from all across the state. They're constant.
Those are legit the lead sheets. It's exactly what they look like. What you're seeing
so
right
here, tips are coming in,
right,
and she's just verifying that everything's been followed up on.
how those tips are coming in though, guys, the lead sheet is not typed up. So the lead sheet is actually what she's doing is the lead sheet's it's a blank piece of paper, okay? And somebody that is going through the tips is writing down what they want to. Okay, this is very significant. Versus like, hey, I want it just straight from the raw shit. Like, I don't want you to mess it up. You know, that's human error there. We don't need multiple ways that we can have human error getting this information into our database. Okay. So what I noticed with this when I decided that, hey, this is one of the ones I want to show you guys was this way that they were writing down the tips. First of all, it was coming from like the sheriff would write one out. One of the deputies, whoever, they would write the lead sheet up. Okay. And the lead sheet was from the tip, however it came in. They're picking and choosing which is credible and which is not credible, which should tell you a lot. So that means that there's stuff that never even made it into the case. You understand that? There's stuff that never made it into this case. If y'all gave a tip out there one day for this case, okay, the government, the Decatur County Sheriff's Office, especially in that first week, they were determining what would get passed on and what wouldn't. And that goes for if you were trying to defend somebody down the road. If I was, or you or whoever was the defendant, and you're like, let me get a look at all the tips that came in, right? Well, here's 10, here's 20, here's 300, but really there was like 1,000. So you'd want to know where the database is on all that, because if you're just going off of the lead sheet, that lead sheet is coming after somebody's looking through the tips to decide, okay, this is what we're going to move on. Remember when they say like we're going to vet all tips that come in? You guys ever hear that? Mm-hmm. Your lead sheets then would have to match the number of tips that came in.
Right. They've received more than 250 tips from all across the state. They're constantly checking the map, trying to connect the dots. So far, investigators have found several items, including Holly's lunch bag, which her family was able to identify.
We've really been concentrating from Holly's house north up to I-40.
And just so we have a little scale here, from here to where the lunchbox was found, we're talking about a distance of about 8 miles.
Yes.
How long can you?
Okay. So this woman would have had the most amazing opportunity to ask this TBI agent. So I have a question here. They found the lunchbox right here. It's 8 miles away, but she had her lunchbox on her. She had. Did her brother say that she saw her walking away with her lunchbox? That doesn't strike you guys as odd?
Sustain such a massive search.
When those leads stop coming in and you stop having things to follow up on, then that's when you may begin to scale back.
It has now been a week since Holly was last seen.
If someone is not discovered within the first day or two, it's unlikely that it'll be discovered alive.
When children are abducted, criminologist James Fox says the abductor is most likely someone a child knows. Perhaps not so in this case.
When it's an adult who's abducted, it's usually a stranger. It's oftentimes a sex crime, and murder is used as a way to cover up the evidence of that crime. But still, there is hope that occasionally cases like these do end up with good news even after a long period of time.
Does it kind of feel like you're looking for a needle in a haystack?
Yes, ma'am.
Volunteers were not deterred by that challenge. One group found this duct tape that they say had hair.
It blows my mind. I thought they were hunting and looking for Holly. Okay. To sit here and say that you're looking for, you don't even know what do you mean you're looking for something? Okay. I would be thinking of a search is that we're looking for Holly. Okay. What do you guys think that Holly had on her? Her brother said nothing of the sort. Okay. No person that's abducting somebody is carrying their shit with them to take with them. Like, oh, here, I'm going to carry it for you. Or here, after I pistol whip you, make sure you grab all this stuff. Grab your book bag, grab your purse, and grab your lunch pail. Come on now.
Stuck to it.
Sure hope everybody brings her back or she can hug her mama.
There were so many volunteers at one point, dozens had to be turned away.
They had 2,000 volunteers sign in at the state fairgrounds, and then they had another about 1,500 show up.
And we're talking about a community of about 2,500 people.
Right.
Yeah, so why don't you add up those people then? Like, do you hear how she's just talking about these numbers? So everybody, do you hear those numbers? That means every single person it's 2,500 people.
Had to be turned away.
They had 2,000 volunteers sign in at the state fairgrounds, and then they had another about 1,500 show up.
And we're talking about a community of about 2,500 people.
Right.
Have you ever experienced?
I know I can do math. Did y'all just hear that one more time? So if we have a community of 2,500, you're talking about 3,500 people. Well, Lana, they came from other places. Huh. But I'm just saying every single person in that community.
Something like this in all the investigations, the community being so helpful?
No, never. Never seen a community like this.
When someone goes missing in a town of just 2,500, the whole town becomes one family.
Oh, one needless
Hundreds of pink ribbons now dot the streets, signs of support and love on every billboard. A community with one common goal, finding Holly. On every billboard. A community with one common goal, finding Holly. For Nightline, I'm Lindsay Davis.
Okay, next. So this was a week after. Now, going to see.
I do feel that this was
Okay, so this again.
Okay, I'm here today on my daughter's behalf, Holly Bobo, who has been missing for over 2 years. And so I am her voice today since she is not here to speak for herself. And first of all, it will never be a great day for Holly's family until she is back at home. But yet for a spokesperson for the TBI, Ms. Kristen Helms, evidently Saturday was a great day for her because she tweeted, great way to start my day, and the coffee is brewing. And then I see a picture of my missing daughter, who has been missing for over 2 years. I did not know anything about this until late yesterday afternoon. And I was in disbelief over it. And so, as Holly's family, people try to protect us. So I don't think anyone wanted us to know about it. And then one of Whitney's friends tweeted it to her, and she told me about it, and I told her I wanted to see it. And so when she sent it to me, I do feel that this was put out without regards for the feelings of Holly's family. I do feel that our family situation has been mocked. I think this type of behavior just adds insult and injury and does absolutely nothing to bring my daughter home. I do expect the TBI leaders to take the appropriate actions for whoever is responsible for this. Our family has been victimized for a long time, for over 2 years. Our family has cooperated fully 100% and will continue to. And anyone that says we haven't, they are not speaking the truth. We have completely cooperated and will continue to. I do feel that this is just an example of why we do need a special task force to look for missing persons. Because I do believe there is a conflict of interest here, and maybe the big picture has been lost. And that picture is finding our daughter and our family members. And so I'm asking every Tennessean, every parent, and everyone that has a heart to please help me get this petition signed and get a task force in here that hopefully will not lose the picture, the big picture, and what the focus should always be and should have never gotten lost, and that is finding Holly and everyone else that's missing in Tennessee.
Okay, so I was going through this and I'm like, what is this rant about? Like, what's going on here? Like, just this is like, what's going on? Well, there was an article put out, and somebody that works for TBI had said that it's a good, like, it's a great day was part of their quote when they were being interviewed. Okay. And the Bobos were like, what the fuck? How can she say that? How can she say it's a great day? And then literally in this next, article that's right next to it, there's my missing daughter. There's my missing daughter. They're going to bring it up here. I'm going to let her say it. This is how this, I'm letting you guys see it the way that this was presented to the internet. Okay. This is how this was presented to the internet. And I'm like, what is this about? Just like all you guys are saying, I'm like, what is this about? Like, normally you would start like and explain what happened here. I played it from the beginning, and into 3 minutes and 21 seconds into it, we're all like, what is this about? Right? Exactly. What is this about? Who has a press conference about this?
Thank you.
Karen, when you say a special task force, are you saying outside of the TBI? Would you like TBI to step aside from this case?
You won't qualify people.
She wants qualified people. She's basically saying that the TBI is inept. But I'm over here like, wait a second. But that's not what the purpose is. Why that question? Wouldn't the question be is, what are you talking about? Why are you upset? Like, what's going on? You know? It's like, what's the purpose of this?
If this is an example of how TBI feels about my daughter's case, then I do think we have a conflict of interest. Because our goal as Holly's family and friends is to find Holly. It's not about anything else. I do try to keep her picture and her story out there. I cannot see a parent of any missing person that would not do that. A special task force would be, are there some people in the TBI that would be in that special task force if they haven't lost sight of the big picture, and that's finding Holly.
What do you want done about this tweet?
Well, I think it's already been taken down, but it speaks for itself, and the damage has already been done. It's been out there since Saturday.
What exactly did the tweet? I think there was a picture with it. What was it?
Yeah, exactly. What was this? You hear the girl ask the question. There it is. Exactly. What's going on here?
Can you explain again what you saw?
Well, evidently, she's sounding victorious over an article that she wrote or released that is a part of. And it's very inappropriate, very unprofessional. She is the official spokesperson for TBI. I do feel that it is very inappropriate, very hurtful, very heartless, and very unprofessional.
What is?
We received a statement from Kristen today saying this was her personal account, and that what's your response to that with her saying it was her personal account?
Well, evidently, there's a lot of people that have seen it, and she is the official spokesperson for TBI. And I would hope that, as an educator, I would never put something out there about a child.
What?
Especially, we have to look at the big picture here. My daughter, Holly, is still missing. That is a disregard and very disrespectful for a missing person, whether it's her own personal account or whether it's TBI's. She still is the official spokesperson for TBI.
Okay, so I'm over here like, why wouldn't they start this, I don't know, press conference with, this is what happened. We're all like, what happened, right? What happened that this is happening? Like when you have a presser, you explain why you're having a presser. Okay? So I'm over here like, wait, this is over some woman that works for the TBI, who's the official spokesperson for the TBI. She's using her personal account and on Twitter put out a status You know, you just like how we do every day. And I'm like, okay, well, what did, there's no article. So I was like, okay, so there's not an article. He's holding something up. And I'm like, okay, so she tweeted something. And then I'm guessing, oh my God, she shared an article. So it's like if I was to go on my YouTube channel and be like, hey guys, check this out. And I share it. Okay. And she writes, I think in the comments, I mean, in her post was like, it's a great day. And then she shared the link to the article to go read it. Okay. That's how I'm understanding it. And so I'm like, but we're all trying to understand what's going on here. That I'm going to let you guys see if it gets cleared up here.
More questions? Where do you kind of stand on the release that they initially, I guess, sparked all of this they sent out last Friday? The actions of the group. What are your thoughts on that?
I am here today on behalf of my daughter. Nothing else. That's all I'm here for. Because I did take this personal. Whoever it's directed to, as you can see, my missing daughter's picture is the picture that's shown on the page and was sent out on her tweet. And it is an open case.
What's the nature? Is that the do you have the petition with you, or is it an online petition?
It's online, and we also do have one that we have printed out.
So then I said to myself, okay, wait, it wasn't like a link. It was, did she take a picture of something and she posted it and she said, what a great day? So you guys, I'm over here doing the same that you're doing. That's why I wanted to present it this way. I don't want to tell you what this is about. I want to tell you guys how this is portrayed. I'm over here like, what is going on? What is this about? Okay. Still, right now, not a clue, right? What the fuck is going on? And I'm just like, all right, well, let's continue to listen. Like, what the hell's going on here? A petition for what? What is this about?
Elderly people that do not have an email, and so we are taking that door to door.
I actually saw the petition has quite a few signatures already. I think more than 9,000. So how long has that been circulating?
Not even 7 days yet. I started it last Saturday.
What prompted that?
It's been over 2 years. We still don't have Holly, and I'm still looking for my daughter. And I will not stop until Holly is found.
Who will you present that petition to then when you have the amount of signatures?
The governor?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So then I say, oh my God, check this out. I said, she said it's been over 2 years, right? Now, I said, what was going on in 2013 that would cause this? And I said, what was the TBI and the FBI working on in 2013? In basically May, June, July, August, like, because that would be, this happened in April of 2011. And she's saying that it's been, over 2 years, right? So then I went back and I took a little peeky peek. I was like, let's pull up everything that they were working on in 2013 in, May, June. And I said, because Holly Bobo's mother is absolutely triggered and she wants people off the case. I said, I wonder what she wants people off the case for. We haven't found Holly. It's been 2 years, it's just over 2 years. And I said, this wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that, I don't know, Clint Bobo was interviewed and Karen a combined 4 times in June of 2013. Like, let's see. Let's see. Bobo was then read a list of irregularities in his statements that had been prepared by Special Agent Terry Dykes. Bobo was given an opportunity to explain any that he thought was not right. Clint Bobo took exception with the statement from October 5th of 2011 when he said that the abductor possibly was wearing all black. I said, holy shit. How about Clint said that he did not think someone was breaking into the house. That came out. Thank you. At this time, Clint Bobo was informed that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation considered him a liar and that he had made it almost impossible to find out who had taken his sister by not giving us the full story. Clint was told that until he told us the whole story and we were able to confirm it, we were only beating our heads against the wall and we were not going to be out trying to create leads any longer. Clint Bobo was told we would continue following up on every lead that came in just as we had so far. Clint Bobo stated that he did not understand. We were just going to stop the investigation. Clint was again informed we would continue following every lead that came in and following it completely just as we had in the past. Clint was told our primary concern was finding his sister and the person responsible for taking her. And until he told us the whole truth, that was probably not going to happen. Clint was asked if he had any more questions, and he did not. Now, this was after, let's see here. Clint was asked to go through the day before the abduction. Clint said that he ate supper and he checked on Facebook. Clint stated that Chad was at a Jason Aldean concert in Nashville. And Chad kept calling him and letting him hear the concert. Clint said that he was listening to the concert with his mother, Karen, and his sister, Holly. Clint said that he had a lot of homework that night that needed to be done, but he knew that he was his supervisor was not going to be at school the next day, so he was just going to be doing that on Wednesday. Clint said that he stayed up a little bit later than usual that night. Clint said that he had laid down about 11 p.m. Clint said that he did not go to sleep until after midnight. Clint said that Drew was there that night and that they watched American Idol on a Tuesday night when American Idol is not airing. Clint then said that on the morning of April 13th, Chad called him at about 7:10 a.m. Clint explained that Chad usually calls him and that they usually talked while they were driving to school. Clint said that Holly would normally leave home at about 7:45 a.m. to make it to school by 8. Clint said that at this point he was wondering why Holly was still at home. This was, after he saw her. Clint said that he explained that He could not remember if he had his phone with him or not when he, was walking around, but Rascal was barking and standing in front of the front door and looking toward the back of the house and barking. Clint said that when Rascal saw him standing there, he quit barking. Clint said he walked to the back door and looked out through the back door. Clint said that he did not see any vehicles parked behind the house, but he did notice that Holly's vehicle was still under the carport. Clint said at this point, he did not hear anything. Clint said he walked back to the living room, and he knows he has his phone with him at this point. Clint said he walked over to the window, and he could hear some talking, and so he listened for a few minutes. Clint said he recognized Holly's voice, that is completely opposite of what he's ever said, and thought that the other voice was Drew. Clint said he called his mother before he looked out the window. Clint said he raised the blind and looked through the crack and recognized Holly. Clint said at this time he was wondering why she was still at the home. Clint said this was when he texted his mother, "Call me ASAP." Clint said occasionally Holly's car would not start, and he wondered if she had car trouble. Clint said he wondered if the person out there was someone that she had called to pick her up for school. Apparently, there was a problem with the battery and electrical system. Clint said when he looked through the blind, he observed Holly to his right side and the male facing her. Clint said both of the individuals were kneeling. Clint said when Karen first called him back, she was not excited at that time. Clint said that Karen asked him what was going on up there. Clint said he asked Karen if Holly did not have school that day. Clint said he told Karen that Holly's car was still there, and he wondered if someone had come to pick her up. Clint said he told Karen Drew and Holly were in the carport. Clint said Karen told him to call all of the neighbors. This is all a lie. They have to say this because why is Kathy Wise there before? Ridiculous. Clint said he knew Drew was going turkey hunting that morning. Clint said he knew Drew was short on shotgun shells because he had asked Clint to get him some more. Clint said it was established with him that Drew was under the carport with Holly and his mother just did not know it. Clint said he could tell the person with Holly would say a few words and Holly would just answer with one word. Clint said he would tell the person talking with Holly that was not upset, but he could tell that Holly was. The person talking to Holly was not upset, but that Holly was upset. Clint said that he could tell the person talking with Holly was talking very direct to her. Clint said his mother called back. Now, just so you guys know, there's only 2 calls. 7:53, 7:56. So Clint said his mother had called back. Clint said he could not remember if he was in the living room or the kitchen when she called. Clint said Karen said, "Oh my God, that is not Drew. Get a gun and shoot him." Clint said at this time, there were no voices and there was silence. Clint said he then noticed the 2 people were walking into the woods. Clint stated at that time he thought that it was not Drew. He thought that it was Richie Pratt. Clint said he realized the size was not right for Drew. You want to know what's really kind of weird? Is that the night before the abduction, Clint calls Richie Pratt who he never talks to ever. Very rarely does he just call him up. And one just asked him about if he was going, asked him what he was doing tomorrow. The kid said, I told the police I thought it was weird. Now, Clint said that he then noticed the two people were walking into the woods. Clint said that the abductor was on the right of Holly, and so that Holly was then on the left. Clint said that he could see the person with Holly was swinging his right hand to his side. You know, nothing's in there. Clint said that Holly and the person with her were right up against each other. Clint said that they were walking at a normal pace. Clint said that the person with Holly had an object in his right hand that appeared to be 7 to 8 inches long. Clint thought it appeared to be like a black plastic deer call with the expendable tube on the end. Clint said that when he first noticed them walking, they were about where the grass starts out there, and he lost sight of them about where the grass ends. Clint said that he was distracted by something and did not see them enter the woods. But when he saw them, they were headed straight toward the trail. Clint said Karen called back. And I'm like, now that's 3. Now you got too many. Clint said Karen called back, and she was then in a panic. He's already said that Karen said to shoot him. Clint said that Karen told him to get a gun and shoot them. To shoot them. Clint said he thought this was Drew or Richie, and he was not going to shoot them. Clint said he was sure Drew and Holly were breaking up, and that was why she was crying. What the fuck? Oh my God, what the fuck? Wait. Literally. What? Again. Clint said he was sure Drew and Holly were breaking up, and that was why she was crying. Clint said that he went and got his Crocs on, and he then went to the door to go out. Clint said that he did not see them when he opened the door, and it was much cooler outside than he thought before he opened the door. Clint said he thought maybe Holly and Drew had reconciled after their argument in the carport, and she was going in the woods with him to see a turkey. Clint said he then thought it was odd that Holly had a bright colored shirt that morning, and she was going in the woods like that. Clint said he did not think it was right she would be going hunting with a bright colored shirt on. Clint said at this time, he was still not concerned with the welfare of Holly. Clint said that when he felt the coolness, he went to his room and got some green sweatpants and a Drake waterfowl jacket and some socks. Clint said he then went to his parents' room and got a Colt 38 special pistol from the nightstand to their bed. Clint said he then had the pistol in one hand and his phone in the other hand. Clint said it took him probably 2 to 3 minutes to get dressed. Clint said he was in no rush. Clint said when he got outside, he could not see anyone. Clint said when he was standing at the back door, he looked down in the garage and saw a small pool of blood. Clint said he then saw 4 or 5 small drops of blood going around the passenger side of Holly's vehicle. Clint said he then thought that the blood was from a turkey, that Drew had brought the turkey up there for Holly to see. Clint said he then thought, where is the turkey now? Clint said he then walked across the deck and off the other end of the deck. Clint said he walked by the pool and up the drive toward the trail. Clint said he could see down the trail because there wasn't much foliage then. Clint said he could not see anyone and he did not hear anything. Clint said there were no birds chirping and no wind blowing. Clint said he then heard a vehicle down on the road and heard it pull into the driveway. Clint said he walked toward the car coming up the drive and he recognized it to be Kathy Wise. Clint said he walked to where Kathy Wise stopped her truck at the end of the flower bed. Clint said Wise got out of the truck and walked up to him, and she had a bizarre look on her face. Clint said he still had the pistol in one hand and his cell phone in the other hand. Kathy Wise said he did not have a gun. Or that's what the cop said that she said. Clint said he struck the pistol in his pocket and Wise looked down at the gun. Clint said that he stuck the pistol in his pants and Wise looked down at the gun. Clint said Wise asked him what was going on up here and told him that Ed had heard screaming up here about 15, 20 minutes ago. Clint said he thought at the time Ed was her husband. Clint said he decided he would call 911 now. No. Kathy Wise told you to call your mom, didn't she? And if that's the story, that means that the phone calls, when she's saying that he made 2 to 3 phone calls, that's because you called your mom, and then when she's calling you back and those calls that you're having, that would put Kathy Wise on that property, just like I said, before he ever called his mom. Clint said when he called 911, he got connected with Henderson County 911. Clint said he told them who he was and where he was. Clint said he was told that it was Henderson County 911 and that they would transfer him to Decatur County 911. That's the same story that Karen Bobo adopted. Clint said he stayed on the line and then explained what he thought was going on. Clint said he then heard the engine of the approaching police car, not the sirens, but the engine of the police car approaching. Clint said that he then told dispatch they were there. Probably because of the 911 call, you can't hear any sirens or anything like that. Now, again, remember, this is Clint's version, his 90th version. Clint said when the deputy got up there, it was him, Kathy, and the deputy. Clint said they all walked up on the deck and across the deck to the door, and he pointed out the blood to them. What? Clint said that they then walked back across the deck and the deputy got out a statement form and handed it to him with a pen and told him to write out his statement. Clint said he laid the statement form on the hood of the patrol vehicle and he started to write. Clint stated that about this time, another deputy came, Jeremy Pratt. He showed up and he told Jeremy what he knew about what had happened. Clint said another deputy from Henderson County showed up. Clint said that this deputy was slim and gray-headed. Clint said that this deputy also asked him a few questions, and then he started back to writing his statement. Guess what time Henderson County got there on site? 10:10. 10:10 a.m. What? Yeah. Check it out. There's a log out there. Go search. Happy hunting, Sebastian. Clint said that his mother and Terry then showed up, and Karen was in a panic. Clint said that his mother came to him and grabbed him and asked him why he had not done anything. Clint said his mother asked him where they had gone. Clint said he pointed toward the trail, and Karen and Terry took off that way. Clint said that he tried to get his mother not to go into the woods because she might step where Holly had walked. Clint said that he returned to writing a statement. Clint said a lot of people started pulling up at the same time. He remembers Brent Ricketts pulling up and asking him where they had gone, and he had pointed to the woods. Clint said that Ricketts got back in his van and drove north. Clint said he remembered Robert Sanders and Robert Lindsay pulling up. Clint said he then saw Drew and his father. Clint said at that time it hit him that it was not Drew that Holly had left with, but he thought, well, it must have been Richie. Clint said this was the first turning point where he thought he may have been wrong about Holly and Drew. Clint was questioned about his involvement. Well, "14 days later, they talked to Drew again. And they say, can you please go back through the events of April 13th? For the most part, the events were unchanged. Clint said that he was awoken by Rascal, the inside dog, barking. He laid in bed for up to maybe 10 minutes, hoping that Rascal would stop barking. Clint stated that the house dog would bark whenever a vehicle pulled into the driveway, whether someone was present at the house visiting or even if a loud vehicle drove down the road. Clint said that Chad called him early that morning, but he doesn't really remember the phone call. Well, that's new. Special Agent asked Clint where he thought the abductor was lying in wait for his sister. Clint said that he thought the abductor was between the carport wall and Holly's car. As she walked up to get into her car, that's where she was assaulted and where the blood is on the carport. Well, Special Agent Dykus brought up the inconsistent portion of Clint's statements that he just provided. He said that James Barnes called his mother at 7:47 a.m. from the Five Forks area to tell her about the scream he heard. Phone records and geolocation confirmed this information. Clint was speaking to his mother at 7:58 a.m. at the time that he lost sight of Holly and the abductor. Ed Barnes's vehicle would have passed several minutes before Clint claimed that he heard it. Also, if the assault had taken place as he believes, then the screams that Ed Barnes, had heard would have had to have occurred after the initial assault in the carport, when Clint was awake and alert, and after he had seen the people in the garage. it would have been impossible for Clint not to hear Holly scream, "Stop it, God damn it, stop it." He agreed that he would have heard it if it was said after they left the garage. Clint assured the investigators that he did not hear any screams. The only possibility where this account is accurate is if the screams occurred after the initial contact with the victim, but before they were in the garage face to face. Dicus revealed to Clint that, you know what? I believe that Clint may have simply frozen. He simply froze when he realized his sister was in trouble. He was terrified. That would explain why he never confronted them, why he chose not to call 911 until 8:08 a.m., and why he took the time to go into his bedroom and change into warmer clothes, while someone was kidnapping his sister, who he is also best friends with. Terry Dicus said, you know, I have to bring up this logical inconsistency relating to what you had told 911, Clint, when you called and spoke to Henderson County Dispatch. And then when they transferred you to Decatur County Dispatch, to both of them, Clint, you stated, in quotes, "My sister is missing," end quote. The sequence of events that had transpired that morning, Clint saw two people arguing in the garage. He sees his sister and someone that he believes was his sister's boyfriend walk into the woods. His mother tells him to get a gun and shoot him because it is not Drew. And Clint calls to report a missing person. Terry Dicus advised that the typical response by law enforcement on a missing person is 48 motherfucking hours, Clint. In a kidnapping case, the cavalry comes. They knew all of this. They knew. These investigators knew that all of this was bullshit. Holly was missing. Maybe Clint screamed like a girl that morning when he saw the blood. Maybe it was Karen screaming. This is what occurred. This is what was occurring in the case right before this big press conference that they did right here. And I said, holy shit. I said, when you put all this out on a timeline, I said, what this is truly about is, this is, oh my God, we are going to blow up. We're going to use the media and we're going to go at TBI. Because they're going somewhere that we cannot have them go. She says this is a little over 2 years from Holly missing. Okay. Well, if she's missing in April of 2011, and this is the type of interviewing that's going on with TBI and Clint and Karen and other people that they're now wanting to talk to, because they're like, yeah, this isn't like, what's going on here?
One reason that I did start this petition up, as I said, Holly has been missing for over 2 years. And I look at it like if you go to a doctor and you're not satisfied, you do go for a second opinion. And we have fully cooperated with the TBI for over 2 years. I appreciate everything that they have done. I'm not being unappreciative of the TBI. I guess one thing that sparked this was the 3 ladies that were found in Cleveland. And then I went on to Don Walsh's website and read that it was very sad that it took him 27 years to get his son's case closed. And how he finally got that closed was seeking out a person that had a record of solving cases. There was a statement that came out about maybe sometimes there may be too many cooks in the kitchen. And I do realize sometimes there are too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm just looking for the best chefs.
Is there some dissatisfaction with the quality of TBI's investigations for your guys' on?
And
She's looking for the best chefs. Like, you know what? There may be too many cooks in the kitchen, but I don't care. We can have 1 million cooks in the kitchen. I just want the best cooks in the kitchen. Where TBI, it seems like they were headed here. Okay. Because maybe, I don't know what was going on, but I'm telling you, 2013, when you see what the police, like, hello, it's right there in front of you. Like, you just believed and you didn't verify. Like, someone says something to you. Awesome. That's what they say. There was no verification going on. Nothing. How are people's alibis being accounted for? Like, Timmy's grandma said that, he was there with him. Oh, okay. What? Timmy's grandma said that he was there and that's an alibi? No. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Timmy's grandma wants to alibi him up, but you're not off my list because of that. Especially once you say this, when you're asking people, where were you on Wednesday morning at 7:00 in the morning? If that's not when the crime was, I don't give a shit what anybody's saying, because it doesn't matter what's going on at 7:00 and what their alibi is. If that's the wrong time, then your alibis are shit, because they're not alibis, because that's not when the crime happened. So think about that, right? If you have the wrong time of the crime, where anybody was or was not at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10, 11, 12. That's why I think the Zachary Adams part of this case is just like, dude, not only is that kid so innocent, okay, but he alone is innocent because the time of the crime is nowhere near potentially even on that morning. Like, yeah. It's wild. It's wild. The timeline shows you that there is a huge problem here.
as the son says, there will never be a great day for us, and it will never be enough until my daughter is found.
In the press release that went out earlier, you guys had mentioned that Helm is married to second in command at TBI. Do you guys have concerns about that?
Honestly, I do.
What are those concerns?
This is his wife. She is the official spokesperson for TBI. He is second in command. To me, this was very unprofessional. If this is TBI's attitude toward my daughter, we have problems.
You're going to take this to anybody else you're concerned about this week?
I have already made my state representative aware of it.
What?
It's all about finding our daughter. That's all it's ever been about. I have reached out to other people. I have reached out to a couple of PIs. I have spoken to several families of missing persons, some with a good outcome, some that didn't have a good outcome. Their advice to me is always the same. Never give up hope. Do everything that you can. Most every one of those families that I have spoken with have reached out to private organizations, to PIs, and they do not regret it. I'm just reaching out right now to all Tennesseans, all parents, grandparents, anyone with a heart. Please help me get the special task force and hopefully find my daughter.
So I was like, holy shit. Like, I couldn't even believe it. Then I was like, what the hell was going on at that time? So that's what prompted me to say, I want to know what was going on in the case, because it was not over some woman's tweet about, oh my God, enjoying a cup of coffee and that it's a great day. It's a great day and I'm enjoying a cup of coffee. And she took a picture and that was in the background. And there's a picture of like Holly and she's like, still missing. And so she's like, it'll never be a great day until Holly is found. And it was just so disrespectful that you could ever take a picture of something that be in the background and be seen like, I think it was a cup of coffee. She's just like looking out, everybody takes like a picture of like a view and you're like, it's a great day. Okay. This is what she blew up about. And I'm like, no, I'm going to tell y'all what she blew up about. She blew up about the questioning that was going on in June of 2013. And anybody with a damn brain cell, okay, one brain cell and one fucking hair on your nut. That's all you would need. So now let's take a look at this. Is a press conference that the actual police did. The police did this. TBI. And this was done this was on March 5th, 2014. Okay. March 5th, 2014. And this is the Raw press conference.
Good afternoon. My name is Elena Tate. I'm the executive officer with Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Thank you so much for coming and being here to share our message of the new developments we have today. Speaking today will be the director of TBI, Mr. Mark Wynn, also followed by the 24th Judicial District Attorney General Hansel McAdams, also the special agent in charge of the Memphis Division of the FBI, Mr. Todd McCall, and then finally the Decatur County Sheriff Roy Wyatt. Director.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Gwynn, Director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. TBI spent several hundreds of manpower hours on this case along with local and federal authorities. There also have been hundreds of ground searches and search warrants conducted. Over $450,000 has been offered in reward money. Historically, this investigation has been one of the most exhaustive of time, resources, and finance. It is important, very important, that we keep the Bobo family and the entire county of Decatur in our thoughts and prayers as this investigation continues. TBI has remained very diligent in working this case, and recently I am relieved at the progression of evidence collected and information developed. With that being said, today at approximately 2 p.m., a special agent with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation presented to a specially impaneled Decatur County grand jury facts and evidence regarding the disappearance of Holly Bobo. After the presentment of this information, the Decatur County grand jury handed down indictment of especially aggravated kidnapping.
I'd love to know what those grand jury minutes were. Would love to know what those facts were.
And first-degree felony murder on Zachary Rye Adams, date of birth June 7th, 1986. Zachary Adams is being held with no bond. As this investigation continues, we are still asking for the public's help and support to help us continue to seek out justice regarding the disappearance of Holly Bobo.
Her body was not found yet, guys. Her body has not been found. Okay.
To seek out justice regarding the disappearance of Holly Bobo. At this time, I would like to recognize District Attorney General Hansel McAdams, who will give us details on the indictments and the process that his office will oversee going forward in this investigation.
Thank you, Director Gwynn. I want to state that Mr. Rye, 29-year-old resident of Decatur County, Mr. Zachary Rye Adams, has been indicted, 2-count indictment, especially aggravated kidnapping and first-degree murder in the perpetration of felony kidnapping. My office requested Circuit Judge Creed McGinley to reconvene the grand jury panel from the January term of the Decatur County Circuit Court. Today, they returned the 2-count indictment. The judge has authorized that Mr. Adams be held without bond. His arraignment is set for Tuesday at 1 o'clock, March the 11th, before Circuit Judge Creed McGinley at the Decatur County Courthouse. A motion day and an appearance day will be announced at that time as to when he would next appear in court after the Tuesday court date. Mr. Adams will be questioned on arraignment day, that Tuesday date, as to his ability to hire an attorney. If he cannot afford one, Judge McGinney will take the appropriate steps at that time. This case will be evaluated by my office as a death penalty eligible case. The evaluation process will review the nature of the crime, the criminal history of the defendant, the aggravating factors set out by statute, and mitigating factors. This is done to protect the sentence if ordered during the constitutional and appellate review that these types of cases are subject to during the appellate review, both in the federal and state court system. On behalf of my office, the family, and the citizens of Decatur County, I want to tell the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
They pulled the old trick. Arrest somebody on other charges. They arrested Zachary Adams on nothing to do with the Bobo case prior to all of this, and then try to dirty him up while being held in county on some bullshit to see, hey, we're going to send you in and you're going to be a CI for us, and let's see if you can get him talking about the Holly Bobo case, right? All this crazy ass shit.
Federal Bureau of Investigation, Decatur County Sheriff's Office, and their leaders, how much we appreciate the hard work and investigation that's been conducted here in Decatur County over the last 3 years. We look forward to their continued support as this case proceeds through the system, the criminal justice system here in Decatur County. At this time, I'm going to present to you Mr. Todd McCall, the special agent in charge of the Memphis Division of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
General Adams, thank you very much. Director Gwynn, Sheriff, thank you all
I just love watching these guys lie through their teeth. That's why we're playing this.
for being here. I just want to take a moment to say what a significant this event is. This obviously has weighed heavily on this community's mind and the family for a significant amount of time, almost 3 years now. And the gathering of the press that is here today is evidence of that. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is directly involved in these types of events from the beginning, in support and cooperation with all other law enforcement agencies. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Sheriff's Office have done a fantastic job in this investigation, and the FBI brings its full force and resources to these types of investigation and will continue to do so. Just because of the announcement today doesn't mean that we are finished. Law enforcement will continue its efforts. Thousands upon thousands of law enforcement man hours have been dedicated to this investigation, and we are dedicated to ensuring that justice is done. Again, our thoughts go to Holly Bobo's family, and we ask that for the public to continue to support this investigation because it is not over at this point in time. Now I would like to turn it over.
Because you guys needed a lot of help, didn't you? Because you guys had no physical evidence, none. You guys were like, all right, let's give this woman what she wants and let's go prosecute this case. And who cares if we win or lose, right?
Over the sheriff for some additional comments. Sheriff.
Well, some people didn't feel the same way. Some people were getting orders somewhere else. We're going to make sure we cheat. We're going to do everything we can. And it's going to come back a guilty verdict. If this goes to trial. And all the other people, like, we got this from here.
Without a cooperative effort with all agencies, then this day would not have been possible. I'm thankful and appreciative for our volunteers in our county that has searched so hard, that has worked so hard, that has supported our department here. And without the help of the TBI, the FBI, and numerous other agencies that has been involved, then this day would not be possible. This is the first step that we have, is finding closure, maybe to this tragedy that has happened in our county. It's many, many people that we could thank, but for lack of time, I just want to thank each agency that is here and represented for their cooperative effort and long hours and hard work that each has put in. My department being small, it would not have been possible without the help and the equipment that these other agencies have. And I publicly want to thank each one of them. General McAdams, there for his help, his support.
You know what the best thing about it, though, is that when you had so many people on the case, is what made it that if anybody was to ever get their hands on the case that actually want to dig it, that you guys aren't all corrupt. Okay. You guys aren't all shit. Right. And you guys don't all look the other way. You guys don't all not call out somebody that's in blue. And because they had a ton of people on this, they couldn't suppress it all. Thank God. But it's all going to come out
in this. Thank you very much.
They arrested this man off of nothing. Nothing. They arrested this man off of people that are speaking that were known to these people as drug addicts, drunks, like pathological liars. Your own people knew that this timeline was so fucked.
At this time, I will open the floor for very brief questions and answers.
Why very brief? Why very brief? You guys should be so excited. You guys should be ecstatic for the most amazing work that you guys have ever done. You want to talk about the man hours? I'd be hallelujah up there. Ask away, man. Why very brief? You guys don't seem too happy about an arrest here. Holly Bobo case. Like, look at y'all.
Just go ahead and preface this by saying that we cannot speak on any specific details about the investigation. As many of these gentlemen have said earlier, this is still a very active and ongoing investigation. We still have a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of leads and information and evidence that need to be examined and developed. So with that being said, please.
I mean, shouldn't that again, all you need is probable cause, right? Probable cause. But no, they indicted him to a grand jury. So that's why I'm saying, like, oh, well, in Tennessee, you don't need a ham sandwich is good enough.
In an orderly fashion, let's go ahead and ask some questions about today's developments.
What changed in the last week that let you guys get to where we are today?
Well, this investigation has been ongoing for a long time, 3 years. A lot of leads have been run. A lot of evidence has been collected. In the last week, I guess you can say that we put a full.
Let me ask you a question. Why wouldn't Jennifer Thompson, Zach Adams' lawyer, say, Clint, what kind of shoes were you wearing that day? Didn't you put on Crocs? Because then you're going to be building up to your big old closing, okay? Like, how do you, like, jeez. How do you not read one of the reports where the own TBI and FBI are saying that, Clint, you are basically going to make it so that the person that did this gets a get out of jail free card? How do you not read that and then say, okay, I need every friggin' report that was ever everything to do with Clint, right? How do you not take this case from the top when you would ever get a case and say, okay, here, report IR1 through all the way to however many there would be? Because I'm sorry, but it is just right there in front of one's face to say that the number one thing that you would ever want to do as a criminal defense attorney is if you can move the time of the crime, and if you could, this didn't happen then. This didn't happen then. And then you want to show the investigation. You want to pick holes at the investigation and show how pathetic it was. And that all the people that matter for this to even remotely be for this to be the way that it's happened, they're all liars. And if that requires calling out the family, then that's what it requires. I don't understand. When you are entrusted with somebody's life, then nothing else matters. This was a death penalty case. There is no, I'm not going to hurt so-and-so's feelings. Feelings? Death penalty case. And you want to fucking talk about feelings? Insanity to me. You want to talk about, well, we can't there is no rule book. Okay, if you want to have the death penalty as an option, the rule book goes out the fucking window.
For press on based on the information that we've gathered.
All of these people should have been put on blast.
Bit of information leads to the second bit of information. We decided.
Every single one of them. And the first question should have been how do you know that Holly was alive at 6 a.m.? How do you know that Holly was the one texting? How come her boyfriend is saying that the coon hunt that was the weekend before her death was 3 weeks before her death? How come her boyfriend, how come her mom is saying that Holly told me that she couldn't get through to Drew, and I was like, oh, it's because I was calling him. I thought she had talked to him other times, though. How come there's no... Drew, when's the last time you saw your girlfriend? Drew, when's the last time you talked to your girlfriend? Drew, what did you do on Tuesday night? Drew, how did you watch American Idol when American Idol isn't on Tuesday nights? Drew, how come you were asking for bullets the night before your girlfriend gets abducted, and then we finally get her skull? There's a bullet in her skull. Why are we all cleaning out your cars all weekend? He was not hunting in the morning. And if he was hunting in the morning, maybe his story would be like, well, when Karen called me, I didn't even speak to her. Wasn't he at work? If I was hunting, how am I texting? What's going on here? What time were you done hunting? Unbelievable. This case is absolutely unbelievable. Nobody knows any facts about anything that went on any of these days. How come Holly's mom is saying that Holly went to school on Monday and Tuesday? You guys, newsflash. Holly didn't go to school Monday or Tuesday. Did you guys know that? There is zero evidence that Holly went to school on Monday or Tuesday. Why would investigators go out and get hotel receipts to see who was staying in hotels? Why would they go out and get at the lodge where they all go they were all planning on going four-wheeling on on Saturday night? There's a lodge there. You ran it out. Why did the investigators go and see and get every receipt of anybody who rented out the lodge or hotel room the week leading up to Holly's death? The week. The week. All like, yeah, the week. Why do you care about who's staying at some lodge that's like, I don't know. Why did Clint Bobo delete and try to erase every single text message that he made from February to April of 2011? Whoa. Really, Lana? Yes. The cops knew it. On April 8th, 2011, Hunter Hollingsworth, texts Clint Bobo and says, riding Saturday night at Nat Trace if you and your crew want to come. Clint, what time? 8. Hunter says 8. Clint says, I 8. Why were Clint Bobo's clothing not checked for the presence of blood by the TBI lab? Question mark. Call Memphis lab. I don't know. What? Hmm. Well, we'll ask Memphis lab if they did it. But TBI, we don't need to test any of Clint's clothes. I mean, for blood. Wow.
Start conducting searches and interviews, which has brought us to today.
Do you know where Holly Bobo is?
I can't go into that.
I
I can't.
Do you know where do you know where Holly Bobo is? I can't go into that. Why? Has she been found?
Can't go into that.
The answer was no. Well, maybe if they knew, then I mean.
Was there a confession?
Cannot go into that.
Expect any more indictments or arrests?
Cannot. This is ongoing investigation. If evidence and facts lead to more indictments and arrests, that's what will happen.
What are the people that think that be connected to this?
I can't go.
So you can't say if you know where Holly Bobo is or if she's sitting at home?
No, I can't say.
If she's sitting at home.
What grounds would the indictment made?
I'm sorry?
What grounds would the indictment made?
What grounds was the indictment made? Yeah, good question, huh?
The grounds for the especially aggravated kidnapping is based on the allegation that we believe we can prove that she was taken forcibly from her home without her consent. Based on
How are you going to prove that? Clint? How are you proving that? You have to first prove that it happened when it happened, right? How are you proving that she forcibly left from her home? Clint? What'd you tell the grand jury?
on the evidence that we have.
So your investigators knew that everything that Clint was saying was a lie, and you presented under the penalties of perjury testimony to the grand jury that what he was presenting was factual. Unfucking believable.
Before us, we also feel that she was killed in the perpetration of that kidnapping. Thus, we have a charge of felony murder. This information has been communicated to her family, and that's all I'll say at this time.
Do you feel like there are community members out there who are withholding information from the CBI and from investigators?
Well, you know, we feel that there's information out there. I don't know that with
I know, like, yeah. The answer to that is yes.
holding is the exact word to use. But we're confident that as the public understands that we're moving forward on this case, that
pressure, huh? What's the problem? Why did you feel all this pressure? If everybody's lying in the community, you're not going to solve cases. That's just what happens.
they will come forward with that information that they have. And we understand that different times it takes different things to bring information forward. So we hope that this is one step in the right direction that will lead us to some additional information that people may have.
Where's Zach Adams being held? What county?
He's currently being held at the Chester County Jail.
Is there more searching that needs to be done?
Yo!
I can't say at this time. As we conduct interviews, as we run leads, if they lead us to additional searches, they will be conducted.
Do you think this reward money provided was key to getting where we are today?
I think the hard work of everybody was key. I think the cooperation of every law enforcement agency that worked on this case was key.
Have you ever seen a press conference where you get just no information whatsoever? You guys, no information. What was provided to us? What information was provided to us? This is an extradition that we have to wait till he is extradited, so that therefore we can't have anything. Nope, we went grand jury and we indicted him. Did you? Think about it all. Think about this. Now, let me tell you guys something about who I'm going to round up this episode here. Hunter Hollingsworth, okay, he sued the shit. He sued the shit out of the gaming. Who was it here? I can read it all. Let me show you what he did. In 2012, he was arrested for baiting and basically killing wildlife birds that you're not supposed to, like ducks, like dove. This is what he was charged with in 2012. Okay. But guess what they did? When I say they, the government, they put cameras on his property in 2012. Okay, Holly Bobo case. Who is Hunter Hollingsworth? Hunter Hollingsworth was going four-wheeling or supposed to go four-wheeling at this Natchez Trace State Park. Okay. On the weekend that leading up to the disappearance of Holly Bobo. Okay. Now, in Clint's written statement that he provided to say, hey, what did Holly do from April 7th until April 13th? He writes down that Holly and Drew go, come with us to Natchez Trace State Park to go four-wheeling, and then crosses it out after he writes it. He crosses it out on the same day. So I'm like, wait, what? Like, what's going on? Let me show you this. This is mind-blowing. And I was like, dude, when did they put those cameras? This was like 2012. He won. He sued their asses and won. I love a good story like this. For violating, okay. Tennessee man's legal battles after finding TWRA hid cameras on his property. It's fucking nuts. And I'm like, oh my God. Watch this. It's the same.
Of Benton County earlier this year, exploring privacy. A hidden Tennessee man stumbled upon a hidden camera on his property. He found that it included pictures of himself and TWRA officers. A three-judge panel voted on the case out of Benton County earlier this year, exploring privacy issues and private property. In the first of a multi-part story, Chris O'Brien takes us inside this case.
If you found cameras on your property, odds are you'd be a little surprised.
It was right here on that, out of those two little scrub oaks. It was on the one on the right, kind of right where that hole is, right in there, 10 feet up or so.
Hunter Hollingsworth has lived in the small city of Camden his entire life. Hunting and fishing aren't hobbies in these parts. To him, they're practically a religion.
Since I was in pull-ups.
While out hunting one day in early 2018, Hollingsworth noticed something odd in one of the trees on his hunting property.
As we came around the curve, my headlights caught something shining in the tree, and I thought it was a coon or a possum, some kind of animal in the tree. So I grabbed a flashlight out of my truck and shined the tree to see what it was. And I saw that it was a camera with an antenna.
He took the camera down and found pictures of TWRA and U.S. Fish and Wildlife agents on them, as well as himself. Hollingsworth put it in his gun safe and essentially forgot about it until that fall. That's when law enforcement came knocking with a search warrant saying he stole the camera.
They had on bulletproof vest, first aid kits, extra magazines, like they were a SWAT team to come get this camera that I stole that was on my property illegally. And they searched my whole house.
Officers handcuffed Hollingsworth, but he didn't go to jail or receive a citation that day. Months later, U.S. Fish and Wildlife charged him with several violations, including illegal baiting and theft of government property. Hollingsworth took a plea deal to drop most of the charges, which resulted in suspension of his license. He then filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the cameras. Federal court threw that lawsuit out. With legal fees adding up, Hollingsworth was running out of options.
You're playing against a loaded deck to start with, and your average person doesn't have the funds or the time to fight them because they'll just drag you out and run you out of money.
That's when the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit public law firm, stepped in. As Hollingsworth came to find out, he wasn't the only one the TWRA and U.S. Fish and Wildlife were watching. For now, in Camden, Chris O'Brien.
Okay, so check this out. I was like, I want like a timeline of this shit. Okay, this is the kid. This dude right here had text messaged Clint Bobo, and they were, hey, they ride four-wheelers together. Okay, the weekend leading up to, like, they say Holly disappeared on Wednesday morning. Okay, well, I say that needs to be challenged. It needs to be challenged, and why it needs to be challenged is because it doesn't make any sense. The timeline's off, and they couldn't, like, you would have been able to, you immediately caught, you see somebody going off into the woods, and then you don't go after them in your car. Just bizarre, right? So the question is when did this happen, and how did, Holly really, lose her life, and what did Holly know, and what was going on, and whatever. Okay. When I saw, because I'm doing digging on just like anybody and everybody who was around during this time, like who their paths could have crossed with. I happened to come across this kid. And I'm like, hot damn. I was like, dude, when did they put the cameras out on his lawn though? Or in his property? Like he has like, I don't know, 135 acres that his family had. And it's like, what? But he caught a trespassing case in 2012. He caught again, like, he basically killing wildlife that you're not supposed to kill. And all I want to ask him is did you go four-wheeling on that weekend? Did you meet up with Clint Bobo, and did you guys go four-wheeling? That's all I want to know. Because I'm trying to get to the bottom of this whole, look at this. Oh, wait. That's not the one I want. That's not the one I want.
Property. It's a complex issue.
Getting upset. There ain't no sense in you coming down here every time I hunt. Ain't nobody invite you. When you bought your hunting license, you invited me.
Is the agency allowed to watch you on your own property? And the answer to that is absolutely not. Not. Okay. Can you imagine somebody just coming to your house and putting cameras up on your property? And I'm over here thinking, going back and digging through, I was like, you know what? I saw a bunch of cameras that, where were any cameras that they asked people for their trail cams back then? For the Holly Bobo case? Why didn't any of these people come forward and offer up their trail cams where all these kids go four-wheeling at? The community wanted to help so much, and they're all on foot. 2,500 of them. Not a single trail cam was turned over in this investigation. You got to be shitting me.
Should wildlife agencies like the TWRA be allowed to watch you on camera on your own property? It's a complex issue we've covered here on News 2 over the past few days. State Capitol reporter Chris O'Brien brings our three-part series to a close after exploring a lawsuit filed by Hunter Hollingsworth and Terry Rainwaters against the TWRA and the fallout from that case, Chris.
When Hunter Hollingsworth and Terry Rainwaters sued the TWRA and some of its employees, they asked for money. $1 to be exact.
It's not about the dollar. It's about the rights that have been restored to property owners all across Tennessee.
The Benton County Circuit Court ruled in the pair's favor in what many see as a win for landowners across the state. But the TWRA contends its job just got a whole lot harder.
Our issues are often very time sensitive. So if someone is hunting game illegally, they're going to be gone by the time we've obtained that search warrant. So there's really nothing we can do about it at that point.
It's a complex issue. At some level, people want the agency to be able to stop poaching and other wildlife crimes as seamlessly as possible. Take Hollingsworth, for example. Some people will tell you there was a reason law enforcement was watching him. If you ask him, he'll admit.
Well, guess what? I want to know if they were watching him because of the Holly Bobo case. I want him to know that. I want him to know that the timing of this whole, of when he started getting in trouble, 2012, Holly Bobo, that's the year after. Okay, she hadn't been found. The case is in just complete disarray, right? And here he's getting popped with shit. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm just like, dude, what the hell? If they were putting cameras on people's properties, why? Why him back then?
After being charged with poaching violations in the past.
I have made mistakes, but good people make bad decisions.
Physically watching someone commit an illegal act is one thing, but Hollingsworth and Rainwaters contend that installing cameras went too far.
Cameras are absolutely over the line because you're being watched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're being seen doing things that could be private.
And in Rainwater's case, he says he's never committed a wildlife violation in his life.
I have a clean record. Hadn't been doing anything illegal, so why should they be spying on my land?
Their attorneys argue that other law enforcement can't enter without a search warrant, so why should this be any different?
In your house, you can commit cyber crimes, you can deal drugs. Nobody thinks, though, that just because it would be easier if police could go into your house whenever they want, all of a sudden they should be able to do that.
Prior to the camera installations, Hollingsworth pled guilty to hunting violations and had his hunting license suspended 3 years. That suspension ends November 6th.
I'm very excited. It's been a long 3 years. I've missed a lot of hunting. I've missed a lot of good times with friends.
Now, Hollingsworth also mentioned that although he is excited, he's also nervous. He says, quote, "I'm afraid they'll try to frame me for something that I didn't do."
Damn! Ain't that the truth, brother? I'm telling you. Guess how many hits this shit got on the there's a huge podcast that's out there. His story got over 1 million hits. This guy's story got over 1 million hits. Hunter Hollingsworth, I'd love to talk with you. I think that 100% you were targeted. I think that you were targeted because of the Holly Bobo case. 1,000%. I think that you were targeted. I think that you've been targeted for a long time, and you just hit the nail on the head there about being framed. Okay. I'm afraid like they'll just, okay, well, if I can't make my case, right, because I got to answer to people that I'm going to go out there and say like, listen, I'm telling you this kid's doing this. Hey, I'm telling you, right? Well, guess what? They're not going to go back and look like a jackass to their boss. They're going to make it. And how they're going to make it? Oh, they'll make it, right?
And this case technically isn't even over. The Hollingsworth and Rainwaters won their lawsuit in March of this year. The TWRA appealed that decision, but until that appeal is heard, it will have to obtain search warrants before searching private property. To watch all 3 parts to this story, visit our website at WKRN.com.
I mean, you just like, and then I was like looking through. So again, we'll be back with more of the Holly Bobo case, but join me as I begin. We have new breaking news from the case, Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, missing person / abduction / ransom, however you want to look at it. We have been covering it, and we're going to take it right there from here. So join me on that next thread. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.